Here we have a Next mountain bike. I got this for free out of somebody's backyard. 24-inch wheels, full suspension. From what I can tell looking at it, it's mostly just dirty. Rust is minimal in various areas. It's going to need an extensive cleaning. The handle grips, like you see this blue tape here on a brake line. Well, here's the original handle grips, and they're torn at the ends. Why? Well, because they didn't go... These handlebars aren't really right for these shifters, I guess, because they didn't leave enough room for the whole thing. And as a result, these were wrapped entirely in this blue electrical tape. But these are not salvageable. Sometimes if there's small tears on these, you can close them up with a needle and thread, but no, this one's going full Pac-Man, waka 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 waka. What are you looking at? Yeah, that's what I thought. Anyways, I went through my parts bin and I found these. Used, but way better quality, way stiffer and sturdier. But I'm going to have to try and move these further in about a ½ inch to make good use of these. The main reflector that was on the handlebars for this bike was cracked and damaged, and while I have other ones sitting in my parts bin waiting to use, I thought, well, why not try to fix it because I'm bored? Well, I went at it with hot glue to close up the broken area and nail polish to coat the top of the screw. It looks fine enough. It's still going to work. I mean, I'm not exactly expecting to make money off this bike. Maybe I'll get $20 for it when I list it online once I fix it. I've got many of the mechanisms sprayed with WD-40, letting this whole thing loosen up a bit. And then I'll break out my bike toolkit here to start working on it. I got all the typical necessities in here. The specialized wrenches for the axles, Allen wrenches, various tools. It's really basic kit, but not bad. Not bad at all. The tires on this bike are the super common ones, and aside from being dirty, they're not bad at all, tread-wise. The rear one's just a little bit more worn, but, you know, that's because it's the rear. The seat, aside from being dirty, actually has no visible tears on it from what I can see, so it's in great condition. The coil down here has seen better days, but I'll do what I can to clean it up. It utilizes the good 3-piece crank. Can't tell if these are aluminum or cast iron because I haven't taken them off. Doesn't really matter because with this being a Next, it's essentially a Walmart bike, and this thing probably was at most $200. If I dropped this off at the bike shop, it would just be scrap for parts in one day. I don't really like doing that. I mean, the last bike I fixed up was a giant mountain bike, and I didn't record that one because I'm not used to doing this, but I thought, well, hey, why not try and record fixing a bike for a YouTube channel? But since I don't have a stand to hold this phone, I have to basically show you in steps, little by little, what I do. Now, I'm not going to profess to be a bicycle mechanic. I'm a tinkerer. I'm a guy who basically likes to pick up these things, work on them, and then try to resell them. Only people like me actually want to bother to save these things. Normally these Walmart bikes, people get something like that for free, and they're like, okay, we'll just scrap these down and save them for parts for better bikes, because that's what I know bike shops like to do, because they don't like to resell Walmart bikes. Because they're not really wrong. Walmart bikes, in truth, are better in pieces for parts for other bikes. When they're used, anyway, because Walmart bikes don't usually last unless you take care of them. This one, aside from being dirty, having minimal rust, and having handlebars that aren't quite right for it, due to the way the grips were, the mechanism seems pretty well intact. It, of course, needs a tune-up, badly needs a tune-up. And I've noticed that at least 3 of the links in the chain are fused, and I'm going to need to soak them and move them. And what you do is you take a couple of needle nose pliers and you pinch each of the links, and then you forcibly move them back and forth, so the lubricant can work itself in there. And that generally gets them going again. It works fine, but in this case, this bike, it looks like it's going to be a lot of work, but I think it's going to be mostly cleaning and lubricating, really. If anything, tuning the derailleurs will probably be the hardest thing I have to do. And I'm hoping that the inner tubes are good all around. Once this is for sale, once this is done, I'll put it up for sale for like 25 bucks or so, maybe at 20. But that should be good enough. Okay, I've got my Allen key here, and I just moved this. I need about a ½ inch clearance in order to get this on properly. And now I gotta get to the underside of this where its bolt is. Look at that. One side done. It fits in there just fine. Not a perfect match, no. But you know what? It'll work. I mean, it's all used parts. This is all just gonna get sold cheap anyway. But a bike like this deserves a second chance, because it was probably just left in a backyard by some kid who outgrew it. That's the problem with these Walmart bikes, is they're so easily forgotten, and they don't really deserve to be. Granted, they're not quality, they're anything but quality. But that doesn't mean they don't last if you don't take... They last if you take care of them, and this poor thing was not. But it doesn't seem to be a difficult revival so far. Alright, it's all done mechanically speaking. I've cleaned it up a bunch. I've gotten the derailleurs tuned. I've gotten it wiped down. I've gotten the brakes working right. Most importantly, I've got these handle grips more properly set for the size. I mean, seriously, Next, you should really work on the quality control for this, because all I had to do was move these in about a ½ inch. And they're fine. Rear brake working fine. Front brake fine. One thing I didn't really like doing, though, was incorporating tape down here on the upper part of the brake line, because the design quality of these parts not so great, and I had to add that in there just to keep that line from constantly popping out. I tried shortening the line, and it was just no good. Now there's one thing I have left to do, and that... Out of the way, pup. Out of the way. It's alright. Just, I need space. There's one thing left to do. The end of this cable has no crimp on it. So, a little trick I use is hot glue. You just put a little hot glue on the end of one of these, and that'll keep your cable from coming apart. If you don't got any crimps, like I don't, then that works just fine. And you know what else that's good for? It's good for cables that are already fraying on the end, because that way the hot glue will stop it from coming apart further. Other than paint touch-ups, this bike is done.